Peace and Conflict Research at Uppsala University. Well, Professor, thank you very much for joining me. This was clearly a blunder by the Secretary-General of the United Nations, who is meant to be diplomatic, wasn't it? He can't start talking about 56 years of occupation and things like that without appear to be justifying terrorism.
Thank you for having me. And I'm afraid he is not wrong. I think he has told what a Secretary-General should say. Because for a long time, I think we have been hiding what exactly the problem is. It's of course what has happened on 7th of October. He didn't condone it. He condemned it. There is nothing that he was ever justifying it, but he was also putting the problem in perspective. And he is the Secretary General. His job is to bringing a peaceful resolution of the conflict. And I think that's his job. And I don't think I think he was completely misunderstood. Or a country like Israel, which has been born because of the United Nations, has this kind of attitude to the United Nations and its representative like Secretary General. It's actually terrible.
But isn't it rather difficult when the Secretary General says things that appear to say that you will get violence if certain conditions are fulfilled? And that's the implication of what he was saying, which isn't true, because there are people who suffer under much worse regimes than anything the Israelis have ever done, who don't resort to violence and certainly don't slaughter babies, and that he has opened himself up to this accusation from Israel by careless speech, really.
No, I don't think. I think it's actually Israel has a tendency not to be criticized for its action, and I think it has taken it for granted that whatever it does, nobody will have the guts to criticize it. And I think that has been a problem. The problem is that we need a long-term solution of this conflict. Nobody, no sensible mind will be anyway justifying any terror activity or anyone who is killing any civilian. I mean, there is no way anyone can justify that. But that doesn't mean that the conflict is actually on because of the 7th of October incident. The conflict is actually sorry, please go ahead.
Well, no, thank you. I was just going to say that, yes, of course it's important to understand what the tensions are between Israel and Palestine, what the issues are, and the solutions that have been discussed and proposed. And you charitably say of the Secretary-General of the UN that his words have been quoted out of context or have been misconstrued. But actually, if you're a diplomat, it's your job to speak in such a way that your words in such a sensitive matter can't be misconstrued.
Well, I think we have seen too much of diplomacy or diplomatic language on this issue, and too much of somehow restrained or somehow taking this thing which is going on in the Middle East for so many years. And I think he has done the right thing, because which many countries, particularly in Europe and North America, are afraid of saying this thing, because this is very, very important. That this is what has happened on 7th of October, and even if the Israel with getting the right to defend, it cannot kill 2.3 million people on Gaza. Even if it kills, the conflict is not going to solve. So the conflict needs to be looked at the long-term perspective and how to find a lasting solution. Who else will do that if the UN Secretary General will not come forward, say exactly where the problem is? If you don't really look at the problem, you don't accept the problem, then you will never find the solution. And I think this is where the diplomat is. He's of course a chief diplomat, but he is also UN Secretary General. And we want, at this point of time, when the world is going through so many crises, we want him to take the leadership role. And I think this is where I see it, that what he has done, it is absolutely right thing to do, to really tell the world that what exactly the problem is and why we need to find a long-term solution.
Well, yes, nobody would deny that the effort to find a long-term solution is very important. But as what you might call the world's most important diplomat, isn't it important that he doesn't alienate by essentially misspeaking, by saying something in a way that was open to the interpretation that he was justifying the attack and therefore alienating Israel, makes it harder for him to do his job and to bring people together because, from an Israeli point of view, he's not competent to do that. He seems to have been taking not only sides, but to have taken a side that is sympathetic or justifies terrorism.
I think I understand the present government or present regime in Israel. Of course, that is the bias, but of course, there has been a large number of Israelis do not really subscribe or do not support what is going on or what has been done by the Netanyahu government. So I think it is somehow, it is not exactly, when we brand it that it's Israelis bias, or all the Jews are saying this, that's actually wrong. Because Israel, I mean, a large number of Israelis are not supporting of the kind of actions which is Netanyahu regime is doing in Gaza. So I think, I mean, we need to look at, of course, I do agree that, it's the legitimate regime. You can say that's what which is in power. But of course, at the same time, it is important for Israel to know that they cannot do whatever they think they can do. So because there are restrictions, there are international law, there are international norms, there are supposed to be, they are not beyond that. They are supposed to know that because their existence is actually with the support, with the strength of the United Nations. And the United Nations is it's actually draws it because all the countries need to respect it. You cannot disrespect this way because you don't like a statement of the UN Secretary General. You can call him whatever you want to. The languages are being used in Israel. It's absolutely horrific against him. So I think we need to be very, very careful.
Thank you.
Not to tarnish his image.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but thank you for your time. We've run out of time, but thank you, Professor Ashok. Don't forget to